For me, it is about the law and people. That is not a legal defense, let me tell you. And how people can resolve and better themselves.
Justice with passion.
I knew I was going to go into law because I always defended everybody. I was always the one who found a solution and tried to resolve the problem by having people talk to each other.
Justice with truth.
So I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth.
This is Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Clark Ramirez is suing Jennifer Matheson in the amount of $500. Mr. Ramirez claims Ms. Matheson agreed to pay his deductible after getting into a minor fender bender in his car, but now she refuses to do so. Ms. Matheson claims Mr. Ramirez distracted her, which caused the accident, so she isn't obligated to pay his deductible.
All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Cristina Perez presiding. Please be seated. All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you, Renard. Mr. Ramirez, tell me, what is the attraction with Snapchat?
It's a very fun little video messaging, picture messaging app that a lot of people like sending to each other. It has like fun little filters, so when you can look like a bee, you can look like a haggard old woman with crazy makeup, you can have like a flower crown, and the filters just make you look amazing, and they're just kind of like fun little videos and pictures I send to my friends. And then they get deleted like automatically, so there's no proof that I took a bad picture right after.
Okay, so what's the deal with using it while you're driving?
Well,
because that's what happened here in this case, right? You're suing your friend Jennifer Matheson because you were involved in an accident while you were both using Snapchat.
Well, she was driving, and then I was passenger, taking photos, taking the videos while on Snapchat.
Okay, so tell me what happened the day of the accident.
Well, so Jen and I, we go back a long time. Like, I met her while out with a group of friends. So we've been friends, I don't know, maybe like 3 years or so. You know, we've gone through breakups to going on nights out, you know, and we really like bonded over time because we really were able, because we were just best friends. So about a month ago, she went through a bad breakup and she was really down in the dumps. So I was like, why don't we go to the beach? Let's hang out with some friends. Let's kind of get you out of this little funk and let's just have some fun again. So bonfire, beach, a little bit of alcohol and some burgers, you know, the usual whole shebang, you know, and then I kind of had a little one too many. So I asked Jen, it's like, girl, can you give me a drive? Can you drive for me?
It was your car?
It was my car, yes. We came in my car. I didn't think I was going to drink so much, but she didn't drink at all. So it's like, I trust you. You're my best friend. Let's just drive. So we start driving.
And you had no problem with that, Miss Matheson driving?
I was a little reluctant at first, but he insisted, and I thought...
You had not been drinking?
I hadn't been drinking. No.
Okay. All right, so you drove. Responsible thing to do. Okay, what happened? So it's your car.
So it's my car, yes. So we're on the highway, and I start going through my Snapchat history, like all the videos that I posted, like there's us on the beach, and I show her a video of her twerking.
But she's driving?
But she's driving, yeah.
So why are you showing her a video of her?
Drunk me thought it was hilarious. I'm like, girl, look at you twerking, because she's not the best dancer, but... So I thought it was funny, and I keep going through my pictures, and then I start taking more Snapchats just because it's fun. I was like, woo, had a fun time, we're going home, you know, and I'm showing her pictures of me, and then I start taking another video, I start doing another video, and I want to include her into it because she's my best friend. Obviously, I want her with me and with my fun time, and then next thing you know, we... have a little fender bender with the truck that was in front of us.
Okay. And why did you crash, Miss Matheson?
I was honestly very distracted by Clark. He was a little more drunk than I assumed he was in the beginning. He was just really boisterous, being super loud, showing me videos while I was driving, and it was just entirely distracting. And he was taking a video of me, and I freaked out because I didn't want him filming me while I was driving.
So how did you freak out?
I freaked out. I looked over because it startled me, and then I screamed at him and told him to stop taking a video of me. And as soon as I did that...
How were you so distracted that it made you crash? What were you doing that you took your eyes off the road?
I honestly, it happened so fast. I was just startled in the moment, and I was startled by him, like, screaming at me and videotaping me in that moment. And so I jerked my head and told him to stop, and then as soon as I knew it, I looked back and I didn't see the car in front of me.
Were you looking at the video?
I wasn't looking at the video, no. I was just looking at him with the camera pointing at me.
Okay. But so if you went like this for a second, you must have looked at it longer because, you know, if you go like this, you're going to look back on the road. So it doesn't really make sense that you just kind of looked at it and then crashed because your eyesight would have still been on the road, right? Okay. If it's like me making a left turn, I'm going to go look and make sure there's nobody over my shoulder. That takes a second. So if you're on the freeway, logically, then you must have been looking longer at his phone in order for you to crash.
Well, maybe it was
I'm
longer
just trying
than
to figure
a second.
out
I just
what
was
happened,
startled and I looked
Ramirez.
over.
Was she looking at your phone in detail? Did she say, "Oh my God, let me see it"?
A little bit,
What was she doing?
Yes, she. I gave her my phone just so she could take a look at the twerking video, and that's
so
when
she actually grabbed your phone and was looking at the twerking video.
Well, yeah. So I handed over, like, let me see that, and she was like, "Oh my God, delete that."
So she actually looked at the. So she's driving and she's looking now.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So she had the phone in her hand.
She had her phone in the hand. She was looking at it. She's like, "Oh my God," and pushing it back in my face, like, "Delete this video. Get that off of your story."
He was handing it over to me when I jerked my head. He was handing it and pushing it in my face, and I grabbed it for a second, looked at it, and then that's when.
Okay.
And I told him, "Please stop taking videos of me."
Coming up on Justice for All.
She started declining my phone calls, my text messages, and I was just like trying to get a hold of her.
And later.
Now it's like every day of the year is Halloween next door. And the problem that I have with it is that it's scaring my kids.
Closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Clark Ramirez, who is suing Jennifer Matheson for breach of contract.
All right, so then she crashed, and what happened after that?
She then told me, she was still very frazzled because then she told me, "I don't have my license." And I was like, "Oh, great. So you don't have your license. We just got into an accident." So I told her, "Okay, look, my insurance is able to cover, will cover this. All we have to do is just pay the deductible." So I gave the other driver my information. I gave him my driver's license, my insurance policy, and we also made a note saying, like, you know, she was driving because he was able to he's a witness. He was able to put her there. So then he filed it, and then I got the letter saying that.
And he was perfectly fine.
He was perfectly fine with it.
He
Yeah.
accepted that you would take, and you told your insurance that she was driving.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
said we'd be able to cover it as long as the $500 deductible was.
Okay, and then what else happened?
And then I got the letter stating that, so then...
And Bernard, can you get the oven? Okay, and?
So I told, "Hey, Jen, so I got the letter, it's 500, and... Well, actually, no, let me backtrack that. So we actually come back home, and she said, I'm sorry about your new car, so if you want, I'll help you pay for the deductible because, you know, I was driving, and you're my best friend, I don't want you just hanging high and dry." So when I got the letter in, I tried to contact her. It's like, "Hey, Jen, I got the letter. It's 500. How do you want to pay me? Do you want to pay me like in increments? Do you want me to pay now and then you just reimburse me after?" Like, I was really wanting to work with her so that, because I know $500, I mean, for us right now, it's a lot. And I didn't want to just like suck her dry or make her feel like I'm hungry for money. Like, I get it. Money can be tight for all of us, and I wanted to really work with my best friend. And overall, I just wanted her to help me because at the end of the day, she was the one that was behind the wheel.
And she said no?
She started declining my phone calls, my text messages, and I was just like trying to get a hold of her. Just help me pay for this, and it wouldn't be all that bad after.
So you're the one that crashed. Why wouldn't you be responsible?
Because I feel like he was the one who was distracting me the entire time. I mean, he was being super loud and boisterous. I didn't at first want to drive the car, but he insisted that I drive and that
You could have said no and gotten Uber.
I could have, but I just felt like I was indebted to him as a friend because, like, he had been there for me in the past, like during drunken nights and breakups and wild nights and everything. So I just thought,
it doesn't make sense. So you're saying because he's the one that distracted you, then he should be responsible for the accident, not you, because even though you were driving, he distracted you?
I do feel that way. I mean, it was his car.
It's like
under
saying,
his
hey,
insurance.
I'm going to a party and I'm going to be drinking at your party and I get a DUI and Renard, I'm going to sue you because you provided alcohol at your party. It's your fault. That's completely makes no sense.
I mean, he was shoving the Snapchat and his phone in my face.
Well, you could have just
Your Honor.
said no and kept your eyes on the road. I mean,
I did that multiple times. But
well, then
he
obviously you
just kept
didn't because you had it in your hand long enough. You had it in your hand long enough to cause an accident. Part of growing up and being responsible and dealing with breakups and friendship is being responsible. Okay, you took the responsibility. It's very admirable of you to drive your friend home because he had been drinking. I'm happy to hear that you're a good friend, but also take responsibility. You cannot blame it on him. And you, Mr. Ramirez, also respect somebody when they're driving. Don't put their phone in front of their face, okay? But solely here, Ms. Matheson, I can only point the liability to you, okay? So based on the evidence, I find the defendant responsible for the crash, and therefore you'll have to pay the insurance deductible for Mr. Ramirez's car as you had agreed, okay?
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $500.
You were really distracting. But at the end of the day, I was driving, and I take full responsibility.
Jen, I'm sorry that this escalated out of hand, but let's bury the hatchet and have a really good time.
Coming up on Justice for All.
Now it's like every day of the year is Halloween next door. And the problem that I have with it is that it's scaring my kids.
Closed captioning provided by... You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Sean Little is suing Harold Jones in the amount of $1,500. Mr. Little claims Mr. Jones is constantly exposing his children to his eccentric and lewd artwork, and he wants the defendant to pay. Mr. Jones claims he can put anything he wants in his yard because it's his private property.
Mr. Jones, I understand you like to exhibit artwork in your front yard.
Yes, I do.
What kind of work? What kind of art?
Sculpture, mostly. Other forms of photography and such. But,
And is it something that you have created and taken pictures of?
yes, it is my art. There are some pieces that are found pieces or purchased pieces from other artists.
And why did you start doing this? Why your front yard?
It's part of my art. It's part of my expression, the way that I artistically express myself. It has to be displayed. Some art is done in a gallery. Some art is done in a mall. If you do a flash mob, that kind of an art needs to have an audience. You can't do a flash mob in your own house by yourself.
Okay, so but why your front yard? Why not your backyard?
The front yard has the best possibility for interaction with the art. Best possibility to display it and have people react to it in a way that affects them, that can inspire them.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for about 3 months or so, 4 months.
Okay, and you plan to do it for a long time?
Yeah, I plan on to do it as long as I live there.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Little, you have a problem with this.
Yes, I do,
And that's
Your Honor.
why you are here suing Mr. Jones today for $1,500?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Would you please elaborate on your claim against Mr. Jones?
Well, it all started with, originally I moved in with my wife. We moved in this neighborhood about 5 years ago. The reason why is because we had our newborn, Nicholas. And it seemed like a very, family-oriented, very community type of neighborhood. Great place to raise your kids. Mr. Jones moved in about 1.5 years ago. He basically started putting stuff in his front yard, and we're like, okay, it's a little weird, whatever.
What kind of stuff was he putting in his front yard?
Well, I guess he calls it his art.
Okay,
I
but
would
like what?
characterize it as junk. There's a lot of pink flamingos, like a whole flock of them. I actually have a picture here, the evidence of what the yard started.
Why don't you
looking
give
like.
Renard all your evidence?
Okay.
So essentially you have a problem with him exhibiting his art on his property, on his front lawn, okay?
Essentially, yes, because
So he has pink
become
flamingos?
very
Okay.
explicit. It's vulgar, suggestive, sexual in nature, and it's become more far so. And you can see in that picture, like with
Okay, what's vulgar here?
Well, you have the severed head in the bathtub, so that's where it all starts. It's just, and this is, I almost wish the yard still looked like this because this is very tame. This is just the beginning.
Okay, so you're saying it's vulgar to have a head on the bathtub.
Well, no,
Okay.
it's what it came to. This is just the very beginning of it, and now it's like every day of the year is Halloween next door. And the problem that I have with it is that it's scaring my kids.
Coming up.
We went to him. We tried to be reasonable. You know, asked him maybe you could put it in the backyard. And he was just completely unreasonable. And I guess he went out and got a permit of some sort.
Closed captioning provided by. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Sean Little, who is suing Harold Jones for $1,500.
Have you complained to the police?
We did. Well,
And what
first
did the police do?
We collectively complained as a group, the neighborhood, and everybody in the neighborhood has a problem with this art. And we went to him. We tried to be reasonable. You know, asked him maybe you could put it in the backyard. And he was just completely unreasonable. And I guess he went out and got a permit of some sort from the city. So when I went and reached out to the police department, they said, look, there's nothing we could do. You could take it up.
He's not violating any city ordinance.
Well, they didn't see the yard. They don't know what's going on. Like I said, that picture was really tame that you saw. There was at one point, he had a mannequin, like a mutilated mannequin with like blood on it and a knife in the head.
You're suing him for $1,500 because you would like to erect a fence between your property and his.
Yes, that is correct.
How will a fence fix the issue, because you'll still be able to see the art?
I wouldn't be able to see it. My son wouldn't be able to see it. As of right now, like
but you
when
would
we
be
go
walking
to
by
school,
his house? And what if you have a
when we
second
go to
floor?
school every morning, I take my child to school. We're actually leaving through our backyard now and going around the house just to shield them from this. And he feels my son should be exposed.
You can't do that forever.
To
You're going to have to
exactly, which is why we're putting up the fence. It's a temporary solution since he absolutely refuses to be, you know, compromising and maybe install it in his backyard where it's for him and his guests to view in their pleasure.
Well, Mr. Little,
and a lot of the things
before
that you don't
I get to that point, how will a fence alleviate this? Because it's still in his front yard.
It's still going to be there, but it will be out of sight, out of mind.
How will it be out of sight, out of mind when you drive by? It's going to be there.
Because the fence will block it. The whole, that side of the yard
How
will be
tall of a
blocked.
fence do you want? And is that even allowed by the
The fence would be 6 feet tall, and it comes in 6 by 6 sections.
Well, is that even allowed to be done by the city?
It's within code, yes.
Okay. So why don't you just erect the fence?
I don't feel it should be my burden.
Judge Perez's verdict when Justice for All returns. Promotional consideration provided by.
It's his private property. He can do whatever he wants on his private property. He's not breaking any law, local ordinances. On the contrary, the city knows what he's doing. And even on top of that, it's his private property. So having said that, I'm going to deny your claim. And Mr. Jones, listen, just as a neighbor, I would recommend that maybe nobody's telling you to inhibit your freedom of expression, your art. Obviously, you're doing it. That's it. You're doing it. But sometimes life is easier if you have common courtesy and if you just are a little bit sensitive to other people. However, based on the evidence, I will deny your claim for $1,500 because Mr. Jones is not legally obligated to share in the cost of building a fence, okay? It's his private property. He's not doing anything illegal. Okay, good luck.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
I'm going to take the judge's advice and try to be more considerate of the neighbors when I do my next art installation.
I definitely appreciate that. I'm willing to work to find common ground. That way you can keep your art and I don't have to build a fence.
This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.